What's going on, guys? Zach Klinger here. Today we are doing a 1500 North Star Crew roof install. To get started on that, one, obviously you're going to remove your OEM roof as we have done here. Make sure you retain all OEM clip, not necessarily any other hardware. You won't really need it except for 2 of the Torx screws that come from that overhead center console. That's pretty much all you'll be keeping OEM. As you can see, our carcass over there is just laying on the ground. So let's get into it. So something I like to do before even getting the roof on is I will run our power kit, right? So if you guys want to follow me over here, I kind of already got started on it yesterday, but not to the point of no turning back. So to give you guys a couple base locations of where the parts in our kit go, obviously your pulse bar connector, I put it in slot 1 because the slack that I have come up with kind of works out pretty good to come to our relay, which goes onto the firewall here. We do provide hardware for you to mount this relay to that firewall. It's that T30 Torx screw that is in our kit. Next being our breaker, which I mount between relay sections 1 and 2. Just kind of makes it a convenient little bridge. And then for any of you guys that may add extra wiring, kind of adds a containment device essentially to hold everything in this nice little flush mount channel. We do provide the hardware in the kit to mount this as well. Something to take note is when you get your kit, you're going to have 2 sections of red wire. The longer section of red wire is going to go from your positive post down the valley and then up to this side of the breaker. The shorter section will go from this side of the breaker down into the valley and then to the top post of that relay right there. Now orientation, as far as the relay and this, how it all plugs in together, black on top, yellow on bottom. Just remember that, and that'll kind of make it a little more fluid. With the main power and ground that will be running up to the roof, try to run it underneath this conglomerate of wiring that we got coming out from the factory here. And then its path is gonna go underneath the air filter, underneath the that black box here, and then up the A-pillar. So now for running our main power and ground to the back of the unit up top. So some of you may be familiar with the 1500s by now, but if not, there is a large square hole approximately right here, as you can see by my fish line, in the side of the roll cage. This is where a part of the felt headliner goes into. We're gonna send our fish down hole, down where the sail panel was, and you'll kind of see right here, it's gonna pop out, right? There we go. Just like that, you can see. But don't pull it out that way. Let it run all the way down into this quarter panel area right here. And now what you'll do is once you got it into this area, this is where it pays to kind of have smaller forearms here. You're gonna go ahead and shoot your hand back here. Grab your fish, and then we will go ahead and tape the rest of our main power ground to our fish. What this is going to do is allow us to neatly pull it all the way up the cage. There you go. 10 out of 10 recommend just using the fish. You can use anything for a fish too. Like, I mean, grab yourself a piece of scrap wire, a coat hanger, anything like that. As long as it's got some sort of flexibility but rigidity, you got a fish, man. So now that we got this all fished through right here, cool part, just toss it over this center bar in the vehicle. Leave yourself like a wee bit of slack, a wee bit. Just this way you got some playroom, but let it hang over that bar there. And that pretty much concludes the wiring kit. So a little bit of prep before we go ahead and slap the top on this bad boy, now that we got the power kit ran. What we're gonna do here is kind of prep for remounting the windshield, also a little bit of the roof here. Now our roof does come with a foam strip right here, and you should be getting a little bit of foam for these 3 holes right here. Now something that you should notice though is on these vehicles is there's normally a rubber strip right here. It's been hit or miss on some of the ones I've done, whether or not it's been there. So what I like to do is I'll take some of our shop supply foam here and I'll kind of seal all that up as well. Because like I said, it's been hit or miss on the 1500. Some have it, some don't have it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and kind of seal up these holes a little bit, make ourselves a new gasket that'll seal better than OEM. Now you get an even bigger roll of foam just to make this process a wee bit quicker, ladies and gents. So foam from right here So you can see where my finger lines up with that bracket. So foam from here to the end of the cage, foam from here to the corresponding side, foam this X brace right here, same thing with the rear brace, and then you guessed it, we are doing the exact same spot on the other side back to the end of the cage. All right, so jumping into the hardware kit for the 1500. So we'll start off with easiest to more complex. So obviously we got 13 fresh push pins here. What these push pins are for is holding up your OEM headliner. We'll get into the location of these once we move into the cab, but just so you know, you should have 13 in your kit. Next thing we're gonna move into is these. This is something that I included in the kit here to try to make this install easier, more specifically for these Northstar models. What these 6 bolts are for is to help you bring the windshield back down into its proper mounting spot. That is all they are for. They're not meant to replace the OEM bolts. They are just there to assist you as a one-man band to bring the windshield back down to its home. We'll get into how to use these properly once we get up there. The next thing you'll notice is these 6 1/4 by 1 inch bolts here. These are going to be for the brow of our roof. And once again, we'll kind of get into location once we get there. Just know these are going to be for the brow. Next thing you'll find is these 2 1/4 inch or 1/4 bolts. I think they're 1.5 inches. What these guys are for is for remounting that overhead console on these Northstars. The next thing you'll find is these 8 metric bolts here. What you should see is 2 of them with flat washers. These 2 will be for the rearmost bolt holes. We'll get into location, like I said, once we get there. This is just kind of a general overview of the hardware in the kit. All of them will come with these sealing washers right here. The next thing that we will get into is these 10 32nd bolts. You should have 6 of them total, 2 with lock nuts. So what the 2 with lock nuts are for is for remounting the OEM pulse bar in the rear of the vehicle. The Gen 2 roofs that we are developing now, they will have studs on the metal roofs. However, for the aluminum roofs, we will be sticking with these guys right here. The other ones that you see, the other 4, so these 2 are for mounting that rear light that comes installed on your roof, and then these 2 are for mounting the dome light that is in your vehicle as well. So that's kind of a general overview of the kit. First things first, we're gonna suck down our windshield, and then we'll go ahead and toss our roof on, and then we'll start hitting some of these other hardware locations. We are going to get our windshield back down. Obviously, whenever you pop it loose to remove your OEM roof, the windshield kind of wants to shoot up because of the OEM gas strut. Like I said, I provided these bolts in that kit to try to make your life a little bit easier. So you take these long bolts, get them lined up with one of the holes up here, and then you'll kind of get the other 3 situated. Don't go tightening anything down yet. As most of you guys know that have been wrenching, doing something like this, especially with a fragile windshield, you want to do even pressure all the way around. This way you're not putting awkward pressure on any part of it, because you can't be too careful doing this. Like I said, it is definitely something that you want to take your time on, because you are working with a very expensive windshield. All right, so once you got your 6 bolts in there, 3 on each side, this is where you kind of just start bouncing back and forth. It's more just feel, like I'm watching the windshield, I'm watching what it's doing, I'm feeling what the hardware is telling me. Like, is there a ton of resistance? Is it trying to go cockeyed? Like, I'm listening to what it's telling me about. So this way I know how to react to it. So now that we're at this point, right, we know we got the windshield sunk down quite a bit. Obviously, these bolts are super long. They're not gonna go all the way through. And like I said before, they're not meant to replace the OEM bolts that go in there. So once you get it sucked down, now you could back out one of them all the way and be like, yeah, it's a close enough distance. We could safely insert this. It'll grab a couple threads, because ideally, when you're doing something like this, you want to make sure it grabs more than just the tip of the threads, because at that point, you may put too much pressure and it'll rip that first thread out, and it's going to be a bad day for you. But you can see how now this one is pulling those other long ones. So we know at that point we were bottomed out on these long ones, right? So now we know on this side we could confidently put in the OEM hardware and not worry about damaging the threads. Like I said, nice even pressure all the way around the board here, because you don't want to risk messing up the threads on the windshield. So there you guys go. Like I said, slow, steady pressure, alternating sides, kind of brings that windshield back down and keeps it square. I forgot to show you guys the holes that we'll be drilling out to 11/32. Now, when I say that, we are not putting new holes in the frame. We are actually just expanding the current holes that are in here. Now these holes were utilized by the OEM plastic push pin rivets like so. The reason why I went ahead and gave these the old delete kit there was because I wanted to forward a way that customers or end users would be able to pull down their headliner for whatever they may need. Whether you want to add an OEM Polaris accessory, add more lights to our roof, and you want to tie into the 8 gang, so on and so forth, I wanted to add a better way for people to have access to those components. And that's kind of why I went the route I did with the push pins there. All right, so now that we got our drill with an 11/32 bit, let's go ahead and get in the hole location. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Right there. Now those ones, like I said, you'll completely drill them out to 11/32. These two are already almost there. Just expand them a little bit. And now we'll move on to the rears. 1 right here. We have 2, which is right back here. Now you may be like, oh, it's super inconvenient to get this one. Well, yes and no, right? So 1, you could always pop loose your rear window. That'll give you a little more space for your drill. Or 2, you could pop out the headrest out of the back seat. Hole 1, hole 2. And then you guessed it, same side or opposite side here. Hole 3, hole 4. Now holes 5 and 6 are going to come whenever you get to our roof. And like I said, this is something that I'm working on design changes with. We actually got the roof sitting over here. We'll take a mosey over to it real quick so I can show you guys. So 5 and 6 are going to be right here. And what you'll do is you'll just like that. And that covers all the holes that you will need to expand to 11/32 in order to reuse your OEM headliner in here with our push pins. Just keep going over. Brandon, those channels are gonna sit right on that X-beam. Matt, come to your right. Something to that effect right there, ladies and gents. It's gotta sit in that channel. Oh, there's a channel. Yes, sir. So just scoot it. Oh, there you go. Beautiful, beautiful, gentlemen. Thank you, guys. All right, guys. So you see, it is obviously a team effort to get these roofs on. There is no fun and easy way to do it. You just got to send it. The way that I like to start these is I will grab my 8 M8 bolts right here, and we will head up to the roof side. And I'll show you guys the location, which bolt goes where, so on and so forth. All right, guys, so getting into those 8 bolts with the sealing washers and their placement. So like I said, you guys should have 2 of them. The longer set, you're gonna put that flat washer that's in the kit, and then your sealing washer. Those are gonna be for the rear here. We'll kind of go over orientation and placement real quick. Your next long bolts with sealing washers, no flat washers, are gonna go right here. And then the other 4 are gonna finish off the rest of the 4 holes that are in the front portion of the roof right here. Go ahead and place those. So a good useful tool to have right here is like a long Phillips, a long sturdy pick, something like that to kind of help you line up this roof to the OEM holes here. Now I'll start these by hand. It may help if you put a little bit of pressure down on the roof, start compressing that foam a little bit. But you just want to get them started really. You're not tightening anything down yet, just get a couple threads in there. This is mostly so you can kind of start squaring the roof up to the cage of your vehicle. Now, as we all know, not all cages are created equally, so there is minor manufacturing differences and assembly differences in everybody's machine. Let's get to it. Now that we got everything in the correct placement and orientation, let's get the roof squared and get the bolts sent home. Getting into installing our backlight. So obviously we got these 8 bolts on the top, nice and snug. Now these are bolts that you are not gonna gun down with an impact. You're just getting them snug. You kind of wanna see that sealing washer kind of flare out a little bit. That's all you're really looking for. Do not gun them down. So getting into the backlight here, obviously you see we have this nice welded on pocket. Plug in your rear light and then it's gonna sit in here nice and snug. Now it is snug. Now we will take one set of the 6 that we have, the 10/32, and we're just gonna go ahead and place them right in here and we'll fasten it down. Started on the remaining 6 roof mounting bolts, a 1/4 20 by 1 inch. They're gonna go here, here, and here. And then same thing on the corresponding side. So here, here, and here. Now, tech tip, because obviously everything lines up a little bit differently per the machine, per the product, so on and so forth. What I like to do is I will take a 1/4 inch drill bit, kind of stick it up in this hole, find where the roof is sitting, and then I will just kind of work it a little bit just to make my life a little bit easier. Like I said, you don't have to do this on every machine. It's just some of them, like I said, there's cage differences. So I do this to kind of even the playing field just a little bit. And like I said, make my life easier. And I'll do that to all 6 of them. So getting into these bolts now. So you're not going to install the last 2 until you got your headliner in, and I will explain that here in a minute once we get this going. There she is. Look at that. We're going to skip the middle hole that we did and go to the next one here. So I'm using a 7/16 wrench and a 7/16 deep well socket with obviously Milwaukee. Now we're beginning cable management here. Quick tip, these are Phillips number 2. To get these off, let's go ahead and connect our power to the board, which make sure you tie in this jumper wire with it, all right? So these aux beams, the way they come is that is supposed to go to a key hot trigger source. The reason why we tie it on with the main power coming up here is because you guessed it, this power is on key hot anyways. So there's gonna be no parasitic draw, no nothing like that, and that's why we're able to tie the key hot trigger source for the board onto here. We'll take a 7/32 drill bit and we will punch 2 holes caddy corner from one another, so hole 1 and hole 2. This way we're minimizing the amount of holes in the roof and the amount of liability of water coming in at any point in time. We got 6 of those. 2 of them do have nuts and sealing washers, and those are gonna be the ones that you'll utilize for this. So something I like to do is I'll punch 1 hole, get a bolt loosely in there. This way I can have everything lined up and then send my second hole caddy corner to that first one. So obviously you see I utilize the channels that are on our roof to run my main 10 gauge. Unfortunately, there is not enough space in here to run the control harness through. So I just kind of lop that guy right over this center bar here. And then for the most part, you guys will see once I move up here is I do try to run a lot of these across or above this dome light bracket that we have on our roof. Like I said, the biggest goal of this is to prevent sagging of the headliner, prevent pressure on the headliner, so on and so forth. All right, so you guys see now we got our lovely cable management done, pulse bars mounted, all the wiring's kind of cleaned up. So we're gonna get into this overhead console here and I'll kind of show you guys, we'll walk over the toolbox. The biggest thing that I like to do here as far as mounting this is I will take the bracket that it comes with and I will place it pretty much nut to butt with the top here, but not completely, right? And then I'll shift it over ever so slightly so you can kind of see the gap here. This is going to allow for that the bolt that they use to still fit right here and still give you clearance to use this secondary switch spot right here. Like I said, you are going to lose these 3 on the bottom or on the back here. Like I said, you're just going to want to kind of center this bar up in between this switch slot, and then what I do is I'll drill holes right here to mount this thing. But yeah, as you guys can see, quick and easy. Just punch 2 holes, mounts right to there. Yeah, just like that, man. And then now we can go into the vehicle and get the headliner in, get this bolted up, and be done with it.
is we're reinstalling our headliner. It's going in the exact same way as it came out. Nothing super complex, nothing crazy, no tomfoolery amongst. Just kind of get the holes lined up and get it in, man. Just reinstalling the dome light here. Holes line up fairly well. Just plug it back in and go ahead and reattach it, and you'll be good to go. So that kind of wraps up our 1500 crew cab roof install here. Like I said, if you guys got any other questions, comments, concerns, complaints, please drop them below in the video or reach out to me directly. If I didn't touch on something that you really had a question on, just reach out to me, man. I don't mind answering personal questions. I try to be as broad on these install videos as humanly possible. Like, comment, subscribe to the video channel, guys. And if you guys need anything else, let me know.